Sometimes I get put into a mental state, whether if I'm high or drunk or sober, tired. I get in this state where I was like, man, not only is this life a simulation, but like, is this like a video game? Like, how closely related are video games in our actual lives? Now, as far as, as far as anyone can tell, these video games were created here. We were alive to see it. We're alive to see video games now. Video games come with a set of rules. Typically, there's a goal. There's an end game. You want a desired outcome. You work towards that. You get scores. You get records. Things to improve upon. The further you get along, you may unlock more. And life is just a lot like that. The thing is, we're not just players in the game. We create the game. We create the rules. We create the rules within the rules, outside the rules. We create the rules. So long as we don't sway away from it, we know what the game is. Interesting enough, the further along you go, the better you get. The more you expand on things, the more you get equipped with more wisdom, with more resources. The further along you get, the more you unlock. The more story that there is. Okay? The greater the obstacle. Okay? The more challenging it gets. I would say, all those things. And until it doesn't, until that particular game is over, then it's a new game. So, how can you apply this to your life? What can you do? Well, I think it starts at the planning phase. If we're talking about playing video games, so what's the rules? What rules are you going to create? What do what's your outcome? Where do you want to go? Goal setting, planning, all that. This is a part of this DNA if we're going to treat this life like it is a game. And in the video games, we take risks. Now, we're not going to be as risky in our actual lives. Like, we're not going to even try to risk our life. But sometimes, I think it's good to have that anxiety taken away from us when we think about making a calculated risk. And I've definitely made some calculated risk in the past where I was just kind of like, really anxious about it. Like, oh, God, you regretted the moment you make the investment. But, but sometimes I think if I ever get like a little tight when it comes to spending money for investments, I think about Grand Theft Auto of all things. And I'm like, on Grand Theft Auto, I wouldn't mind spending money. I mean, you spend money and it helps you get better guns or, just... So, I mean, why not? If there's a reason for spending the money, you may as well. Don't be tight. Don't try to hold off for tomorrow, for the down the road. Because then you still may end up being broker and none the wiser. So, you have to take these chances. And, that's what I like about, Grand Theft Auto. You don't... If you steal a car, first of all, you're stealing the car and you can get away with it for real. But if you're driving a car, you don't necessarily have to drive on the right side of the road or anything. And I think life is a lot like that. You don't have to drive on the right side of the road. You've been conditioned to do that in an actual car. But mentally, you don't have to drive on the right side of the road. You don't have to color in the lines. Alright? As far as I'm concerned, you coloring inside the lines, the picture doesn't get any bigger. Oh my God, I'm a genius. You got to expand the picture. You add to what was already been put out there. Alright, you have to innovate. You can't just try to... this is a fishbowl effect. This is you standing inside a fishbowl. It's a dog in a cage. Just like, okay, it's foundational. There's something to be inside of. So cool, you might be safe. You might live to be 173 and a half. But where's the adventure? You're basically like just a dependent. You're just depending on something. Depending on something that's already there. If you're going to depend on something, you depend on it as leverage. That's the way. And a lot of you may not want to play this game, so you have to create your own game. Um, because I think you're going to be in the game regardless. You know, life is truly chess. Video games is a simulated version of life, so is chess. You know what I'm saying? Actually, it's this. You know, it's the same hint of chess in video games and in this actual life. You know, just thinking moves ahead and thinking on your feet and making moves in response to what has been happening or to what happens in the external world, what happens around you. So that's important. I think the next thing, obviously, out of plan after planning a goal set, you know, all those things, the rules, and you know what you're gonna start out with. Well, actually, I mean, you do that now, but you know, I think actually, I think that goes into planning, but also part of your mindset is to be willing to do it. It takes a lot to be willing to step up to something greater, something you never, you never challenged before, something that you never took head on, and you know, especially like when nobody makes you do it, and you have to make yourself do it. Like you have to be the boss of yourself. It's tough. All right. And that's why I do this little thing where I like split myself down the middle. I do this in many in many facets, but like I will split myself down the middle, and I'll make a master slave type thing. So I will make this body do what I tell it to do for a greater result. All right, I take over its mind. I control the mind, and I say, you know what, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do exactly what I tell you to do, and you do it to the best of your ability. All right. So if I can come back together right now, because I'm confusing myself, really, like goddamn, and I'm the one who does it. But and and I just get to it, man. I don't worry about the outcome, nothing. Just focus on the process, and and that's all that really needs to be done. Really, be willing, and of course, you keep playing until the level changes, and you know it may require different rules out of you. You know, it may require different resources, but you keep going, and as you level up, you stick to some of the same principles that help you get to the next level. So that may be discipline, it may be speed, it may be having a player two. You know what I'm saying, or three or four. You know, because obviously you can get a lot farther if you're campaigning with your squad. All right, so life does feel like a video game, and I like getting organized and knowing the rules. You know, getting familiar with it, with the buttons, and you know all those things. And I'm always looking to beat my high score. So I think it's very important because when we talk about, you know, outdoing other people, you know, when you in the arcade and you got the high score, what you trying to do next? You trying to beat that high score. You trying to beat yourself. So if we can already be in the mindset of somebody who's uh, try to beat, you know, their own personal high score. Now imagine where you would end up in 5, 10 years if you're consistent. Just keep trying to beat your high score. All right, so life is like a video game. All right, the problem is a lot of people don't want to play, and rightfully so, because when we talk about playing a game, your mindset drifts to the game that's already been put into play, not your own. You know, of course you wouldn't want to play somebody else's game where you always lose. All right, they know all the rules, they can switch it all they want, but that's up to you. All right, y'all, I'm out of here, man.